It's starting. Hi, everybody. I'm here with Diane Brockmeier. We're going to start pretty soon here. You know me. I have to mess with this silly thing first. I know. I'm sure there's like a bunch of young people out there like, oh my gosh, that woman cannot get her video thing together. And her selfies are just deplorable. I got it wrong. I want you to make it, do your Sam, make it straight thing. And then we got to go over a little bit more because Diane's not. Or Diane, come this way a little bit. Let's see if we can get you in here a little bit. Dee, dee, dee. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, somebody joined us. Hi, person. Who is it? It's Tim Burt. Hi, Tim. Good to see you. I can't see that far. My glasses don't work. All right, we're pretty good. Scooch.
I think
we
need a little more of her. Is that what it is? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sam, you got it, man.
Now we're talking.
That's the money. That's the ticket.
There we go. Okay, cool.
All right, awesome. Cool. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for asking.
This should be fun. The whole idea is fun.
Okay.
Fun, interesting, share your awesomeness. I mean, that's what it is. So
We'll see how that goes, right?
you'll do great. I promise. You'll do great. All right, so there are 3 9-10-ish minute sections. So that's our clock up there. Don't worry if we go over. If we go over, we go over.
Okay.
You know, I'm usually watching, so I'll wrap it up, each time. And then the last part is where I get to ask my questions that just kind of bring us outside of what we have been talking about.
Okay.
So just spark some additional kind of new conversation.
Great.
Because I did not know this, but most podcasts don't go a half hour. And so the people that are like, Mich, you're doing it, this is such an awesome podcast. They're like, no, you're okay with a half hour because you do that question thing. I'm like, see, I just knew that.
You knew that.
Intuitively, however, I was supposed to podcast. So, yay. Hooray. One skill set I didn't know I had until I started doing it, All right, Sam, you tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I'll give you the thumbs up.
I just drank coffee. Don't do it yet.
Okay.
I had to get that one little bit of caffeine in there. Okay. Now I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
Hi, this is Mich Hancock, and you are listening to Mishmash, a place where I get to talk to the weird, wacky, wonderful people of this world, people I adore and want to know more about. Today, my guest is Diane Brockmeier. She is the president and CEO of the nonprofit organization Mid-American Transplant, which facilitates organ and tissue donation and now serves 84 counties covering eastern Missouri, southern Illinois, and northeast Arkansas. Hi, Diane.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
Well, I will tell. So you're one of our TEDxGatewayArch speakers.
Correct.
Hooray. But the first night when we had an orientation was the first night that I met all the speakers. And you stood up and what you said really took me back. Like I was like, whoa, what an interesting way to introduce yourself. And I don't know if you remember. Do you remember?
I remember a bit of it, yes.
Can you say it or should I try to say it? I don't know if I'll be as eloquent and graceful as you were in saying it.
Oh, I'm certain you would be. But I think I was making the point about to give folks a context of our work, that our staff works every day at this remarkable intersection of loss and life.
Yes. And I was like, whoa. It made my skin kind of went tingly. Thought, wow, what an interesting thought. Because, and you went on, to talk about how at that place where the intersection is, there's somebody losing a loved one and there's somebody whose loved one now has got hope.
Correct.
And that's an interesting place to be.
It's a remarkable place to work because you see people in the midst of almost opposite, like polar opposites in emotion, a devastating loss of a family member and then someone celebrating the chance that their loved one has a second chance at life.
Right.
That they have the opportunity to perhaps, be normal, have a normal life, get back to what we would all define as normalness.
Right.
And that's an unusual thing for some of those people that have been gravely ill for so long.
And I can't imagine, I'm sure that it takes a lot of training and a lot of compassion to be the person that's going to those that are about to lose someone and say, we could use this,
It's a job that is only really made for a special type of person. They have to have that ability to immediately connect with people, to really be able to empathize and to meet them at the spot in their grief journey that they are. But then they have to be, compassionate, able to answer their questions, able to make sure that they get the information that they need. Folks that are experiencing a loss like that in the hospital have really lost all control.
Right.
And it gives them some ability to have some control over the rest of that individual's legacy from that point forward. And so those folks are remarkable, remarkable people. So they come from all walks of life. We have nurses, we have social workers, we have folks that have been past police officers. So
really?
it's an interesting mix of professional skills, but their personal attributes is what brings them all together.
Exactly. That makes sense. And so some people, like up front, are have, have signed the thing saying, I am right. But is it far too few? Is it pretty good how many people do that? I mean, it's like, wow, a lot of people do this. Or is it something that people don't do?
I think it's not enough. I mean, I guess that's the biggest answer is while we have made great progress and great strides in getting people to sign up on the registry. In fact, we even went through an exercise as an organization. We ran 3 license offices. And we did that in an attempt to try to make sure people were well informed when they were making that decision and they really understood. But only about 60 or 70% of the total population is signed up. But in the population of patients we work with, we only see it about 50% of the time.
Okay.
So we're always working to try to get more people on the registry. If your family's already had that conversation with you ahead of time when they were living, it certainly gives them that perspective to know that they are carrying out their loved one's wishes.
So tell me this, when they sign, what does that mean when you sign the driver's license? What does that mean when you do that?
When you've signed your driver's license, it is a legally binding document in the state of Missouri. And it says, I have made this decision as my first person, as me, that I'm authorizing donation to proceed. Okay. So what happens in reality is in the throes of a hospital loss, for example, our staff would say to the family, I'm sure you were aware that your husband, your brother, your son had signed up on the registry. And this is where he signed up. And this is what date he signed up, because we can access the state documents to actually show them that.
Okay.
Many families are aware of it because it's a conversation that they've had.
Right.
But many families aren't. So it really affords them the opportunity to know, oh my gracious, this is really something he or she wanted to do. And they find comfort often in knowing that they can be a part of kind of that last component of the legacy that individual will leave.
Got you. And if a family member says no way, can you not do it? Or is it like, well, or does that just create issues, legal issues? You don't have a lot of time here, right?
No,
it's not like you have a lot of time.
Right?
Yeah.
So it does create issues for sure. It's always smoother if the family understands and the family wants to proceed with the loved one's wishes. It makes it complicated if we have to unravel that, and occasionally families will say, well, he didn't realize what he was signing, or he didn't understand what it meant, and we're certainly respectful of that.
Sure.
It's one of those scenarios that we partner with the hospitals in our area, and if they are willing to proceed, we do re-education. We really try to talk to them from the perspective of, but your loved one has already made this decision, right?
Yeah, this is their wish.
Their wish. You really don't have to change that or overthink that or look at that. They've already chosen. So your opportunity is to honor it. And I think that what we found is that if we can continue to work with families, the majority of the time, those few, half a dozen a year, we can actually work with and they finally understand and agree. On occasion, if they absolutely did not and they are adamant, we have walked away. And in the event that, while it's not legally, we're backed to proceed, but from a compassion perspective, it's really hard to put a family at that moment in their life through any more agony.
Right.
So we graciously walk
and
away.
at that moment, they may not be thinking.
They're not fully thinking either, right?
They're not thinking clearly too. So
I mean, what do they
You
say
know.
about all of us when we're in crisis? You hear about 10% and see about 10%. I mean, you get this real tunnel visioned, you know, thing going on in your mind. And so when you think about asking people to make those kinds of decisions and that kind of mindset, it's a real challenge.
And
So,
and it may just be I can't make this right. I mean,
Right.
I can't
I can't
even
go
go
there.
there. Yeah,
Right.
I totally see that. I can see where that would be the case.
and you know, sometimes too, in the case of like a parent, for example, I mean, that whole conversation, they are living every parent's worst nightmare.
Ah,
And so, you know, as a parent, I mean, it's just more than a loved one can really fathom, you
Right.
know. And so I think that knowing that you see, we can see, even those of us that work in the field every day can see why it's troublesome for folks,
Yeah.
especially if they don't know, you know, what their loved one wants.
right. Well, yeah, and they we're trying to read. Oh, we're back. Hi again, everybody. Something went amiss with our connection. Yeah, no, it always goes by so fast. Especially, I mean, come on, this is really interesting. Like, as a person that does not know this world, right? This is so interesting for people because I always have questions about, you know, like I wonder, and what does that look like, and what does that mean? You know, I mean, I know you can sign the driver's license.
Right.
I've probably
Just
it
a
popped
minute.
up. There,
Mhm.
see,
There
it's
it is
doing it
again.
again.
It's doing it.
It's on. We're back. The show can go on. All right, let's just go with it.
Okay.
We'll just, hopefully it'll just,
We won't touch any buttons.
yes. And we'll pray to the Wi-Fi gods. All right, wait,
We
hold
kicked
on.
off our
Wait, there was a
sacrifice.
thing that came in my head that I wanted to ask her, and I've lost it, so give me a second. Let me drink coffee. That'll do. Coffee
you
will
back
make it.
up.
Yes, I'll perk back up.
Okay.
For transplant.
Wow, interesting.
So, and the list is colorblind. And we basically know a first initial, last name, and an identifier, a medical identifier. And that's all the information that my staff has when they're making these allocation decisions. So, making the calls.
I think it's interesting that, you know, so we always think of things like organs,
Right.
like in the kidney, that kind of
Right.
thing.
Mhm.
But recently a friend of mine had passed away, and her daughter, her skin
Yes.
matched
Right.
someone.
Skin
and
is used for, I'm sorry, didn't mean
no,
to
but
interrupt you.
I had never
Heard
in
of
my
that,
I mean, I
thought
know
about that.
skin is an organ, but I just didn't think of, wow, that's interesting, skin.
Right. I mean, they use it for a couple of different things. The most obvious one in some cases, it's used as like a living dressing for burn patients.
Oh,
It's still one of the has the ideal properties to help heal burns, right? But one of the other uses that's really come to the forefront more recently is the skin can be processed or meshed and used a lot in post-mastectomy work, in big wound care closures. So haven't really seen clearly their entire life, perhaps.
Oh, gosh.
So imagine taking off this foggy window pane from your eye and giving you something that's clear. We've heard patients talk about, oh my goodness, I've seen my children's faces for the first time really clearly. I mean, so those types of stories, you know, are really compelling and encourage our staff to continue to do their work.
Right.
Tendon repair for athletes, lots of tendon surgeries. So tendons can be donated from the donor. Bone is used in a lot of big cancer operations, like an entire femur can be replaced one patient to the next.
You're kidding me.
No, matched up by x-ray.
Wow. So on the tendon thing, would that be like the person is hanging out wherever, and then like, hey, we found the tendon for you. Like, you know, they're not in the hospital at the time, right?
They're not in the hospital. And because of the way that tissue donation happens, which occurs far more frequently than organ donation, those individuals can almost schedule their surgeries because you know that tissue will always be there for that next surgical case.
Wow. That's fascinating.
It's a remarkable, our body is a remarkable system. It's a remarkable machine. And there's no better replacement, certainly at this point, than those organs and tissues that are gifted from another individual, from another human.
Has there been any, I mean, okay, I'm thinking of the mouse with the ear on it,
Yeah.
right? We've all
Yes.
seen it, right?
Yes.
You know, I've seen that, you know, but has there been, you know, where are we with creating our own organs
You know,
and such?
people talk about that. They talk about 3D printing. You know,
Right.
they're using that a lot for surgical application today. People talk about those cells like the ear on the mouse. They've that within 5 to 20 years, we'll see some of those things come to be.
Really?
Right.
We might be there.
We could be.
Interesting. So, because you think about, like, they always talk about how close your DNA, like, your DNA is actually really close to a banana.
Right.
You know, you're like, really? Okay, but the banana is so different than me. But you know, I think, I mean, you can kind of feel it with a baboon or a pig. You know, you're
Right.
like, I can see how that might
That
work.
might
But
work.
it's interesting that it just still isn't quite there.
Quite there, right. You know, and the biggest thing is trying to make sure that the organs from the baboon or the pig, for example, have been this genetic engineering so that the pig's, your body doesn't recognize it as a pig heart, right?
Right.
Your body would recognize it as your heart. So you wouldn't reject it. So that's the biggest piece now, is dealing with A, rejection,
Yeah.
and B, that long-term function, you know, of, you know, a mechanically engineered organ.
Because it's a chance. I mean, you put this in there, and then it's like, will it work?
Exactly.
I mean, it's really a journey, this whole thing.
It's an incredible journey, and some of these people are on the wait list for several years, you know, with mechanical assist devices or tethered to dialysis, and so, you know, they are waiting on oxygen.
There's somebody running
somebody.
around with the cooler.
Right.
And the cooler's got to get to this certain place at a
By
certain time.
And there's actually some fact in that.
Right.
Is that there's limited time for the organ to get reimplanted. So, you know, one of the things we want to make sure we do is everything we can to minimize the time that organ sits in the cooler.
Right.
Because obviously it's in the best environment when it's back in the recipient. So, yeah.
It sounds, is there a lot of stress?
I would certainly say there's some stress. I mean, you're fighting a clock.
Right.
It's an emotionally charged situation.
Right.
Certainly on our staff. You have to have, right.
You'd have to, or
Right.
else it would
be chaos.
It would be chaos. Oh,
Right.
wow, that's so interesting. Thanks, Diane.
You're welcome.
We're going to take another break, and we will be right back with Diane Brockmeier. Wow.
Wow.
Interesting.
I can't
It's
believe
so
how fast that's-
interesting. I know.
How fast
I know.
the
We
time
bend
goes.
time.
It's like crazy.
It's,
I just went through 2 TED Talks. I mean, a TED Talk.
oh, that's right.
I'm thinking, crap. I
Those
think
TED
that's
Talks are not
I'm
long. You
like,
can say crap.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. I'm
can
like,
say
oh my
whatever you
goodness,
want.
I'm giving away my whole TED Talk here on the podcast. I better be careful.
No, don't give it away. We don't want to give away too much,
No, I won't. So
because we want it to be very, or just for that audience. Okay, let's see. Now it's gonna be question time. So I have to decide what I really want to ask you. Okay, I'm ready. Whenever you are. And we are back with Diane Brockmeier. Okay, there is a story that I read several years ago, and the family let her, hey, come over, and she'd gotten the organ from a 13-year-old little boy. And the first question she asked the family was, did he like Cheetos and rap music? Because apparently, after she received the organ, she started craving Cheetos and listening to rap music, and the family was like, oh my gosh, yes. So then there's been a lot of research around how our genes, DNA, what have you, hold memory. Mm-hmm. Right? Is that like for real?
we hear that. I've heard that reported. I don't have the science to back that up, but it is an amazing thing when you, like the story like that, right? The Cheetos and the rap music, probably not typically in her music interests.
Not
right?
even close. She was like, why am I all of a sudden into this?
Right. So we have heard people talk about having a fondness for things or an affinity to like certain foods or certain music or traveling if they never wanted to travel. So we have heard those things. I've really never had an appreciation for what really drives all of that behind it. But it's one of those kind of mysteries wrapped up in all of it. Right.
It is fascinating.
Right.
I mean, you have to wonder because, there's there's certain people out there that, believe that there are past lives. Whether that's true, I actually don't know. But I have to wonder if past lives are somebody, great-great-great-grandpa's DNA or something. That's what you're like. You have a memory of that somehow.
That could be.
It's so fascinating.
It is interesting. We've had cases in the past where I've heard the transplant teams talk about, especially little boys. They wanted to make sure they weren't going to get a little girl's heart, because then they wouldn't be, rough and tough and all those kinds of things. Yeah. Because they don't want to be a sissy. But I've never heard that truly reported. And it's always interesting, though, the questions that people ask. But your families had some distant connection, right? It's even remarkable when they're complete strangers and you hear about those things.
Wow,
so
yeah,
it's
no
pretty
kidding.
remarkable. Yeah.
I'm telling you, there could be a book in this. There probably is a book, and I don't know
There
about
probably
it.
are people.
Okay, is there any organ that people do not like to donate? Like, is this like, people don't like to donate that for whatever reason?
It's not very common. So most of the time, families are willing to make the most of their loved one's life,
Okay.
right? On occasion, we've had people say, well, you can't have the heart because that's where their soul lives, right?
Okay.
And we've had people say on occasion, well, you can't take their eyes because that's how I see into their soul. They've looked at
Right.
me with those eyes.
Right.
So on rare occasion, we'll hear it for eyes and heart, but it's it's very, very uncommon anymore.
My dad has a thing about my dad's like, I'll donate anything except my
Except
eyes.
my eyes, yeah.
I want to see heaven when I get there, but I think it's more of a joke. But yeah, I was just wondering if there was one like, gosh, nobody will donate this.
No. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
For the people that are waiting.
Right. No
right?
kidding. No
You know,
kidding.
there's 1,700 people wait in St. Louis. That's how many we have on the list today.
1,700, really.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so no matter how hard we work, to try to make every donation happen, it's like the list outstrips what's available.
I bet.
Right.
Oh gosh. And then my next question is psychologically speaking.
Yes.
I mean, how does this affect someone? The person that receives the organ, the
Mm-hmm.
transplant, what have you. How is there also a component of, where we have to go in and take care of their mind, their thought process, their feelings, their emotions around it all?
One of the things we've heard expressed over the years is something we've called recipient guilt. Mm-hmm. And I've heard it expressed from teenagers up through, 70-year-olds. And it's like, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful I've had my chance at a good life, right? To get to continue to live a good life. It will happen with us a few times a year, but not regularly. But we have probably 20% of the families write back and forth. And out of that, probably half of them choose to meet at some point. It may be months, it may be years. But yeah.
I think I would be one of the people that would be willing to meet.
I
would want to. I would want to meet and say thank you. And, but I can see where that would be, I can see where that would be really uncomfortable for some people.
Some people, right. It's not the right thing for everyone.
Right.
But, our thought is everyone can write a thank you card.
Yeah.
Right? You know, so, and those little things mean so much.
Wow.
And so you have those people, and I think what it really made me realize, I was on my own, new coordinator, relatively younger nurse, certainly far younger than I am today, and it was like, oh my goodness, these people can see past all of this and make that decision. So I've also had the experience of it touching our family. So my stepson was a tissue donor in 2001, and my daughter
Are you feeling ready for TEDx? I know.
23 days from now or whatever.
I know,
Right?
yeah.
I love Elaine's countdowns. I'm excited about the opportunity to talk about some of the innovations we've made to the industry, which is kind of what ours is about.
Awesome.
Certainly cast in the mission of the remarkable work we get to do to save lives every day.
Very cool. Very cool. I want to know. I can't wait to hear about the innovations. This is going to be interesting.
Thanks.
I'm excited for your
excited.
talk.
Thank you. I am too.
So thank you, Diane, for being here today. I totally appreciate it. And I'm ready. I'm ready for TEDx. I can't wait to hear your talk. Thank you for being a speaker.
I'm happy to
We
do it. I
greatly
was
appreciate
honored
it.
to be asked.
We
so.
know the commitment, and you're starting to know it. So
Oh yeah, living that.
it's a commitment, people. So thank you so much for being a guest
Thank
today.
you. It was great to be here.
And for everyone out there, please remember to subscribe to Mishmash on iTunes, and you all have a great day. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
See how ezy that is?
That was almost
You're
painless.
already prepared.
That's right.
But that is funny. I was thinking that. I'm like, I always wonder, like, when people see things depicted on TV shows and on movies, if the people in the know are going,
Seriously.
oh, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. There's always, is this still
It
going?
is, but I can turn it off.
Yeah.
I will. Sorry, you guys can't hear this part. We're talking secrets now.